Over 60 different types of programming.
There's truly something for everyone.
Right here.
The voice of Nassau Community College.
90.3 WHPC.
WHPC HD.
Garden City, Long Island.
Available anytime on your smart speaker.
And anywhere on iHeartRadio.
.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College. Welcome to From the Press Box, here every Monday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Part of the Sports Talk family here on WHPC. Sports Talk's on every day, Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m., at least for the summertime. And, of course, there's another edition of Sports Talk every Thursday night at 9 p.m. My name is Rob Leonard. Joining me, of course, is award-winning sports writer and, yes, my brother, Tim Leonard. Why are we playing this, Tim?
You know what that means, brother.
I have no idea. Why are we playing this?
Because yesterday, greatness was recognized.
Shockingly, you know?
Not shocking.
No,
There's nothing shocking about it.
No shocking. I agree with you.
History was made, and greatness was recognized.
Well, you know.
And I was
Mariano.
Pleased about it.
You know, the greatest reliever of all time.
Yes.
And he was put into not the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the Baseball Hall of Fame.
He probably has a case for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as well.
I wonder if they put in individual songs based on, like, other events, because that would be a good way of putting it. You know, Enter Sandman, you know, whoever started playing that at Yankee Stadium, you know.
It was actually, I know the story, brother. It was one of the guys who does the music and the stereo and the whole presentation.
Right.
They were trying to come up with stuff. This was right when that sort of thing was
really big.
No, it was just starting to come into being, where players wanted their own walk-up music. The batters and pitchers were coming in, especially relief pitchers were coming in, and starters would warm up to their own music. And because Mariano was, you know, he's a very devoutly religious guy. He's very much a Christian. He's not into heavy metal. And so the people who worked at Yankee Stadium were trying to come up with a song. And I forget which one they almost used, but there was one that was very much on the verge of happening. And then one of the guys who was one of those behind-the-scenes guys brought in Enter Sandman. And he said, look, he goes, I think this one should be, you know, what we go with. And he played it for you know, the room of there was a handful of people, and they all agreed, yeah, that's the one. Let's go with that. And obviously, for Yankee fans, all you have to do is hear 3-4 notes of that, and you know what it's about. That's Mariano Rivera's song. So I don't know if any other relievers are currently using it, but if they are, then they need to get a new song, because that one should be retired. That song means here comes Mariano Rivera, and the game is over.
And you know, the good part about it is, technically, if he wanted to, like, trademark Enter Sandman, he could. It's based on a song, but the song isn't, you know, you can't trademark the title. So, you know, technically, if he wanted to trademark, he probably could.
Well, he on his Hall of Fame plaque, one of the nicknames it has listed for him is Sandman.
Right.
You know, that's you know, they have it had Mo and Sandman, and then it had all of his various and assorted accomplishments, including the record 652 saves. And also, what some people probably don't realize, because with Rivera you hear all about the saves, a 2.21 ERA career. That's an astoundingly good number, especially for a career. The guy was in Major League Baseball for, 18 seasons?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. That means at the end, and we all know at the end he was just as good as he ever had been. His final season, he could have pitched at least another 1 or 2 years, if not more.
He probably could have.
But that means he never faded. The game didn't tell Mariano Rivera we're done with you. You can't get it done anymore. Instead, Mariano Rivera said, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore.
No,
I'm pretty much done because I have other things that I want to do in my life, and I'm done playing baseball. And he wanted to prove it. I mean, there was something on the Yes Network with Jack Curry did a really nice interview with Mo, and one of the things they talked about was that the game, I think it was in Kansas City, where Mo was out in center field shagging fly balls, and he went to reach and to catch one, and he twisted his knee, tore his ACL. And he was thinking about that was going to be his last season. And he got carted off the field because his leg, he couldn't even get up. He was in a lot of pain. Sometimes you tear an ACL and it's not a big deal and guys don't know it. This was massive pain, Mo grabbing at his leg, screaming, and they show the clip because Alex Rodriguez was standing behind a plate. And I don't know who hit the ball because I didn't recognize who it was. But as soon as A-Rod sees Mo in the outfield, you see him say, "Oh my God, oh my God." And then it was like, "Hey, get somebody out to center field in a hurry. Mo's hurt." And he was probably the best athlete on the team. The Yankees of those days always talk about how Mo was fast enough to play center field. He was a good enough athlete to play center field. Right. But
he said that at the Hall of Fame game this year. He said,
the Old Timers Day.
I'm sorry, Old Timers Day, where he said, "Hey, he played center field for a little bit, but he also said he always wanted to play outfield."
Yeah, and he certainly could have done that. And you saw in the same Old Timers Day. I mean, he wound up hitting a home run, quote unquote. It was like a little league home run, but smashed the ball into the gap and just ran around the bases. So he's still. I mean, he's older now, obviously, but he certainly could have pitched more.
You covered Rivera when you were up in Albany still. Right?
I covered him up in Albany for a little while when he was there, and I also obviously covered him in the Bronx when he was with the Yankees. But when he was in Albany, that was 1994. And the big deal that season was Derek Jeter blowing through town. Mariano Rivera was not, an elite prospect at that point. It wasn't like, he came with big expectations. Now, that being said, he was still a starter at that point. He wasn't a closer. He went 3-0 with a 2.27 ERA in 9 starts for the Albany Colony Yankees, which at that point was a Double-A team. And got promoted to Columbus. That was still when the Yankees had the Columbus shuttle. But I'll be honest, I don't remember covering him. But like I said, it was mostly because that was the year that Jeter came through, Pettit came through, and there were some expectations with Pettit. People were saying, "Oh, he's going to be a guy." Posada had just started catching, and he was, he and Bernie. I mean, a lot of guys came through that year, but they weren't necessarily in Albany for a long time, any of them. I mean, Jeter was only there for about 30 games or 35 games.
And
then they moved
things
him
were
up to
expected
AAA.
of him, right?
Jeter, yeah, not Mariano. Mariano was, at that point, he might have been a top 10 prospect for the Yankees, but he wasn't a guy who anybody really had any kind of major expectations for, and with most prospects in Major League Baseball, if you look at teams' prospect lists, for the most part, if you're not a top 4 prospect, you have a marginal chance of making it. And I remember I saw in the video, I think it was the Yes Network yesterday, where they showed one of the old Baseball America. They would have the top 10. They'd give you the little thing. This was back in the quote-unquote olden days. But Mo was a number 9 prospect. Tate Seafried, we got to really get some hardcore Yankee fans to remember that name. He was number 8. And Brian Buchanan, who had a little bit of a cup of coffee in the major leagues, he was number 10. So that was where Rivera was regarded, which was a fringe guy. It was 91, 93 on the fastball. Needs an out pitch, throws a little bit of a slider, et cetera, et cetera. This was before he figured out the cutter. And that obviously changed his career because there was a point in his, I believe it was in his minor league, I think it was probably the year after with Columbus, where his velocity just took off.
Right. There was a thing on one of the Yankeeographies, I guess, from Mariano, and they were talking about how all of a sudden he got this faster fastball.
Right.
And Gene Michael actually had to call some of the scouts and say, "Am I seeing the right thing here?"
Right.
And
because they fill out the reports, and Stick knew what this guy was. He knew he was like low 90s, and all of a sudden his fastball went up to 96, 97, and Stick was like, guys, this is a huge jump. 4 miles an hour when you're in the 90s already. That's a big jump at a young age. And he called the scouts and he said to him, like, hey, what's going on? Are the guns broken or what are we, can we get something right here?
Right.
And they're like, no, this is it's legit. Because we know, because the scouts know too, and the scouts are they're aiming their guns and checking. It's like, oh, wait a minute, hang on, where'd this come from? And so he got the bump in velocity, and it wasn't because he gained weight or muscled up or anything like that, because Mo was, back then he was probably about 160 pounds, if that. I mean, I don't think he ever weighed more than about 180 in his life. But after that, then all of a sudden the cutter grip came in, and he said I threw the ball just like I've been throwing it my entire life, but all of a sudden it started to move. And in the video for the Hall of Fame yesterday, he said that he worked with the pitching coach. I think back then it probably was still Mel Stottlemyre.
It was.
And he said we worked for like 45 minutes trying to get it to stop, trying to readjust, because he's like, I don't know where the ball's going to go. So they were, and he said, he finally said, he told Mel, he says, you know what, whatever's going to happen, it's going to happen. And then he figured out a way to control it and know where it was going to go. And then a Hall of Fame career was born.
Amazing, if you get, he started out as a starter,
Yeah, and not a very good starter. That's the other thing. I mean, he was a pretty good pitcher at that point, and he had troubles, especially in '95. He was up with the Yankees for a little bit. He started a few games. They sent him down. In fact, he told a story that he got sent down on the same day as Jeter got sent down, because Jeter came up for a few games, and they sent him both back to Columbus. And I thought he said it. I'm not 100% sure, but I thought he said that they were sitting in an Applebee's. I'm pretty sure he said Applebee's, and so they were both like almost crying because they were getting sent back down. But Jeter at that point was, I think, 19, 20 years old. I think he was 20. So and Mo probably wasn't. If he was 21 or 22, both both babies still. But obviously they wanted to stick in the major leagues, and that's every player's goal. But the Yankees back then, they obviously had a quality team. That was the team that went to the playoffs that year, and should have beaten the Mariners, except for Edgar Martinez. So, but then Jeter was up the next season. Mo was a setup guy the next season, and then took over the closer role the year after.
Well, he said something interesting. He mentioned John Wetland, and he said, I thought I would come in the 8th inning and John Wetland would finish it. And
yeah, like forever.
Yeah, forever.
No, it doesn't work that way.
Well, but he would have been happy with it, I think.
I think he would have been happy with it, because, I mean, you have to remember.
It sounded that way, at least.
You have to remember, this is a guy who signed for $2,000 bonus. He wasn't a highly regarded guy.
He wasn't Brian Taylor.
Not even close. But he was a guy who they found at a tryout. He wasn't really baseball. He said he wanted to be Pele. That was his sports goal, was he wanted to be a soccer player, but he didn't have the ability for it. So when this tryout came around for baseball, and he was a position player at that point, but they said, well, why don't you try pitching? He says, I don't know how to pitch. And it was like, hey, just throw the ball as hard as you can. Let's see what you can do and what kind of control you have. So he wasn't even really a pitcher at that point, but that was what he showed the aptitude for. So the Yankees signed him $2,000, a glove, and some cleats, because when he went to the tryout, he didn't even have a glove and cleats. So I guess he borrowed them or whatever, but it was, that was what we're dealing with in terms of this guy was such a fringe prospect that, he came from very humble beginnings. Everybody knows the story. His father was a fisherman. He would help his father with the nets and catching the fish and doing all that. He never expected to make, more than $100 million playing baseball. was never a thought in his mind. I don't even think when he was playing in Albany, I don't think that was a thought in his mind. I think he was more like, hey, get me the major leagues. Let me see if I can hang out for a couple of years.
For him, $2,000 was a lot.
Back then, yeah. That was great. I'm sure he was thrilled with $2,000. Now it's tip money.
Well, I don't know about tip money, but anyway, also at the Hall of Fame yesterday, besides Mariano Rivera, who gave a very good speech, by the way.
Class, dignified. I mean, just everything
also,
he was as a player.
He also did a little Spanish at the end for all his countrymen who were there.
The Panamanians.
The Panamanians.
He, by the way, brother, he is the second native of Panama to make it to the Hall of Fame. Do you know who the first is?
No.
Rod Carew.
Rod Carew.
That's a pretty nice group.
Well, there's only
if I'm Major League Baseball, I'm going to Panama for some more players.
Well, I agree with that. Rod Carew, really?
Rod Carew.
Oh,
Rod Carew is no longer alone.
Okay.
With the Panama connection.
Anyway, it was a very, very good speech. Spanish at the end. He very humble, in his speech. Also, he had his boys there, the Core Five.
Core Five.
And who else was there?
Tino.
Tino was there too. He's not a member of the Core Five.
No, Tino was traded for. He was part of that Yankee dynasty, obviously. The trade that brought him from Seattle was one of the key deals. In fact, that was really probably the key deal, because that was when Don Mattingly decided he didn't want to play anymore because of his back, and he didn't actually retire until after 1996, but he didn't play in 96.
Right. So
the Yankees brought Tino over from the Mariners, and he was obviously a huge cog in that lineup. And I think he wound up with like a 3,100 season.
I always wondered if Mattingly had actually stayed around, if he was able to work around his back,
But he couldn't. I mean, he'd had 5 seasons of trying to work around the back, and it was obvious that he had no power left. He was lucky to hit 15 home runs and 70 RBIs. And that wasn't Mattingly's career is such a split. The first 5 seasons were otherworldly, and the last 5 seasons were just pedestrian. And that's why he's not in the Hall of Fame. I mean, if he has 5 more seasons like the first 5, he's a lock for the Hall of Fame. A mortal lock.
I still think he should be in there, but I know you don't.
I mean, I love him as a player. He's one of my favorite players ever. But one of the Hall of Fame criteria is longevity. And as good as Mattingly's first 5 years were, it's not long enough. And he put up career numbers similar to Kirby Puckett.
He's over 300. So
yeah, but when you're talking about counting stats and whatnot, like I said, he's close to Kirby Puckett in career numbers.
Right.
But give him another 5 seasons, and like 5 productive seasons. Like I said, he's a lock.
Anyway, I like the fact that Bernie Williams was there. He's now a guitarist.
Well, he was a guitarist back then too.
But now that's what he does. He's a jazz guitarist, and he played "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," and then of course he entered a little bit of a riff of "Enter Sandman."
Threw it in there. I was digging it. I got to be honest with you. I wasn't even sure what song he was playing when he was playing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," but all of a sudden he hit it with "dun dun 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 dun," and I was like, "Wow, do that, Bernie."
Well, he's got to get. He's a jazz guy. He's got to get to that point, because that's what jazz guys do. They set it up and then they go to the melody.
But that made me smile when he did
that. All his guys were there. The Core Five and Tino and Derek Jeter was even there.
Derek Jeter, he's not involved with Yankee stuff because he's one of the part owner of the Marlins now. So
I want to know the actual percentage of the ownership.
It's like 3%.
Yeah, okay.
He
should sell it off right now.
Well, he's there. He's there to be the face of the franchise, and that's
is that worth 3%?
Well, that's. I mean, he spent it was like $35 million. So they paid about $1 billion for the team. So 35. Maybe it's 4%, or maybe he negotiated where he got 5% because he's Derek Jeter. And that's worth money as opposed to actually putting cash in.
Well, yeah, I'm sure. It's like when Mickey Mantle owned his restaurant. He didn't actually pay to be the owner.
Right.
They just said, we'll give you a percentage, and you show up.
But that's what I'm saying.
Derek Jeter, corner.
Yeah, Derek Jeter's name lends credibility to it, even though, let's face it, the Marlins right now are, there's not a whole lot of credibility there.
Oh, God.
But, I mean, it was kind of a surprise. I mean, I wasn't stunned that Jeter was there because it is the Hall of Fame and it's a baseball event. But obviously he hasn't been to Old Timers Day. since
Right.
retiring because he's a Marlin, and I kind of commend him for that and for keeping his identity with the team he is now involved with, and but at the same time, I really wish that he was involved with some of this Yankees, whether it's Old Timers Day or whatever.
You know what they'll do? Have the Yankees ever played the Marlins in an interleague?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they have.
Well,
I
I'm
don't
just
remember
saying,
the last time,
next time that happens, that's when you have your Old Timers game.
maybe, but it's no lock that he would still play. He might show up. He might show up and just like wave to the fans from the press box or something. But there's no guarantee that he would actually play. In fact, I'm pretty sure he wouldn't. So I don't know. It's a tough one. Let me just the one thing, and I'm quoting friend of the show Jack Curry here. Mariano actually called Jorge Posada, who is now working for the Marlins. Jeter gave him a job, and told him he needed him in Cooperstown. So Jorge and Jeter got on a private jet, because that's what owners do. They get on private jets.
Sure.
And flew to upstate New York. I don't know where they landed. They didn't land in Cooperstown, I can tell you that. There's no airport in Cooperstown. But whatever the nearest airport is.
Albany.
No. Albany is that's a 2-hour drive. There's other airports.
Might be the closest one.
There's other airports in upstate New York, brother. I don't know. I don't know. Syracuse or.
No, that's Syracuse.
Ithaca, maybe? I don't know.
That's Syracuse.
Maybe Ithaca. I don't know. Syracuse probably too far west.
Way
but
west.
they got up there and they were there for Mo. I was actually surprised that Mo didn't cry during his speech.
Yeah,
I was very surprised.
Well,
I was also very surprised. 55,000, which was actually the second largest crowd. I was convinced there was going to be more than 100,000 people there. But maybe they saw the weather report. I mean, it was like 95 degrees up in Cooperstown yesterday.
As you said, the hottest day of the year is the Hall
It was
of Fame.
It was 99 or 100 down here. And I'm sure up there it had to be about 95 degrees. It's always, I don't know why, I don't know how, I don't know whose cruel joke this is, but every year up there, and you just sit out there and you bake in the sun.
Yeah, well, that's what you do.
Great sunshiny day. I mean, it would all be perfect if it was like 75 or 80 as opposed to 95.
That's true.
But just tough.
No flies showing up this year, right? Wasn't there a fly with a...
with the scooter, yeah. There's always flies. But, the scooter made a big deal out of it because it was funny. I'm hoping, brother, that the core five, as you pointed out, and Tino, I'm hoping they book their rooms for next year while they were in town because next year we'll have Derek Jeter as
Are we sure he's going to
likely.
get in on the 100%?
Well, 100% you never know because obviously all it takes is one moron to say, you know what, screw this guy. But should he? Yes, absolutely. Should Derek Jeter be number 2 on the 100% list and give the Yankees both?
Was Tom Seaver 100%?
No, he was not.
No, he wasn't.
I believe he was 98.7.
That's right.
But
So Tom Seaver should have been 100%.
well, Ken Griffey Jr. only missed on 3 ballots. It's
I wouldn't pick him for 100%.
Who?
Griffey Jr.
Well, he was a great player. What are you talking
I'm
about?
not saying he wasn't. I'm just saying that I'm not sure he was,
I don't understand what criteria you would need that
the Rob Leonard criteria.
that's dangerous. But let's put it this way. I would be stunned if Derek Jeter is not selected unanimously next year.
Right.
Absolutely stunned. Unless there's some jerk in Boston
You think
who
A-Rod
wants to
might
make
show
a
up
name
next
for
year?
himself. No, because if he's still doing Sunday Night Baseball, he can't.
Sure.
He's gonna be in town somewhere. He can't. How is he going to do that? How's he going to go be in Cooperstown?
He could say to ESPN, "I'm going to support my friend." That's what you do.
He works the game. That's his job. So sorry, A-Rod. Make a video. Say, hey, Derek Jeter, congratulations, my friend. Loved you as a teammate. Loved you as a person. What a great honor and congratulations. And be done with it. That's what A-Rod should do. He as much as I'm sure he would want to be there, it would steal some spotlight first of all. Because how many reporters would be all over A-Rod saying, A-Rod, do you think you're ever going to get in the Hall of Fame with the steroid issues and suspensions and whatnot? And what's A-Rod supposed to say? Well, probably not. Because more than likely, he's never going to make it.
Oh, he'll make it. He'll be down the road, though.
Way down the road.
Way down the road.
Like 10th year maybe down the road.
Yeah, and I have no problem with that.
He's admitted to using it, though.
I know that.
Clemens and Bonds never actually admitted it.
Right.
Although Bonds did admit to using the clear. the clear and the cream, like Gary Sheffield did.
Yeah, well, that's not real steroids.
But that is the issue. A-Rod actually admitted it, and Major League Baseball suspended him a year for it. They didn't suspend Barry Bonds. They didn't suspend Roger Clemens.
Well, they should have.
A-Rod was actually suspended for using performance-enhancing drugs.
Right, I know
for a
that.
full year.
So
that's why I don't think he's ever going to make it.
I think he'll make it. I agree with you. It's 10th year. We're going to take a break right now. We're going to talk about Mike Messina and Roy Halladay and Harold Baines. Their induction.
The rest
of the whole thing.
The rest of the five.
We're going to take a break. You're listening to From the Press Box right here on 90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College.
All hit music. For all those songs radio has forgotten about. Join me, Big Ed, Mondays from 10 a.m. till noon for the Good Gold Show. We'll bring back all the great hits of the 50s, 60s, 70s, and more. The sounds of doo-wop to disco, all the Motown, soul, and great rock and roll. We'll even take your requests and dedications to the Good Gold Show. Music. On the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC, and streaming on the iHeartRadio app.
If you think all the great music has already been written, think again. Hi, I'm Kim Tracy, and I will prove to you that great new music is still being produced today. Join me on High Fidelity every Sunday at 9 a.m. for a mix of music with a focus on new music and lesser-known artists exclusively on the voice of Nassau Community College, worldwide on the iHeartRadio app, the TuneIn Radio app, nccradio.org, and always on 90.3 WHPC.
Okay.
Yo.
Tell your friends about the Nassau Morning Madhouse. Hear what you're missing.
Check it out.
Check it out.
We're talking about spoilers. There have been a lot of people taking spoilers really seriously.
As they should.
I've always been anti-spoil. Have you ever seen... Well, I don't want to say what it is in case someone is planning to watch it or something.
Is it new?
Yeah, is it new?
No, I think it's pretty old. But
okay, then it's fine.
I don't want to be that guy. I don't believe in spoilers, period.
But what's the movie?
Well, it's My Girl.
The movie came out in 1991. It's fine.
Oh, my...
All right.
So you just don't talk about movies.
The movie is 2 years older than I am.
I don't believe...
The Nassau Morning Madhouse. Weekday mornings from 7 to 9. On the voice of Nassau Community College.
90.3 WHPC.
We're back here on From the Press Box, right here on 90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College. Our theme song for today, Enter Sandman. Trademark it, Mariano.
You can't trademark somebody else's song.
No, but you can trademark the term Enter Sandman.
I'm pretty sure he did already.
I don't know. Unless Metallica did it. Anyway, Mike Messina went in. Unfortunately for Mike, I think he would rather go in as a Yankee than a Baltimore Oriole.
No, he went in with nothing on his
I know that, but I think he'd rather go in. Was it his choice?
It is his choice, and that's why
that's why he
went in with a blank cap.
I know Major League Baseball will sometimes say, "Hey, you have to go in as this."
Not really.
They said it to Gary Carter.
Well,
or his family.
It's the player's choice, but Major League Baseball will I think Wade Boggs, if I remember correctly.
Wade Boggs went as a Tampa Bay Devil Ray.
No, he went in as a Boston Red Sox.
No.
He wanted to go in as Tampa Bay Devil Ray.
And they made him change.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Because I remember seeing a cap yesterday, and I could swear it had a B on it. Maybe I'm wrong. Double check that on the computer. But that was one of the things. Because teams nowadays, they'll pay a player.
Well, that's what I thought.
I think Tampa Bay was willing to give Boggs maybe
a
decent check to say, hey, we want a guy in the Hall of Fame, so be our guy. Even though he played for him a season or two. I mean, he played for Boston. That was the success in his career, and obviously he won a World Series with the Yankees. But for Wade Boggs to go into the Hall of Fame and wear a Tampa Bay Devil Rays hat, it kind of undermines the credibility of the Hall of Fame. Because how
he went in, I'm looking at a copy of his
plaque.
His plaque, it's Boston.
Yeah,
but he originally wanted Tampa Bay.
Right, but that was
matter of fact. I think when they signed him, there was something in the contract
that was, and baseball stepped in and said, no, we're not allowing this because that's ridiculous. You played for a year or two for them, and I think he had a job with them after his career, and that was all part of it. But that's, like I said, the Hall of Fame. The one thing that the Hall of Fame has is credibility, and Major League Baseball will step in, and the people that run the Hall of Fame as well will step in and say, look, we're not going to allow this. And the reason, you have Mike Messina, who it was 10 years with the Orioles, 8 years with the Yankees, obviously had more team success, I think, a little bit more with the Yankees because he was still on the Orioles when they were good, which obviously was a long time ago. But those were good Orioles teams that he played for. The same thing goes with Roy Halladay.
Right.
I didn't realize. I thought Halladay's split was similar to Messina, but as it turned out, he only played like 4 or 5 seasons for the Phillies, and the majority of his career was spent with the Toronto Blue Jays. But another guy who, because he had such success with the Phillies while he was there, he also, it was decided that he was going to go in with a blank cap, and as opposed to, he didn't want to slight either one of those teams. So, it was, Messina's speech. It was very unemotional. I mean, he just kind of stuck to his script.
Yeah.
It was. Obviously, he had rehearsed what he was going to say and very much stuck to it. The one thing that really stuck out for me was when he talked about, hey, I didn't win 300 games. I didn't strike out 300 or 3,000 batters. I only won 20 games once. And there was like all of this almost about his career. He had 270 wins, so he was 30 short. But it was almost like he said that he was like saving up for one final push, and that was what got him to the Hall of Fame.
Well, that's going to be the future of pitchers in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's the first of what's going to be coming down the road, and that's going to be pitchers who don't get the 3,000 strikeouts.
250
wins.
Well, I mean, CC Sabathia's got 3,000 strikeouts, but 250 wins is going to be the new benchmark, because when you're talking about 32 starts a year, and how many seasons it would take to get to 300 wins now.
If you do that, then it would be 10 seasons at least, just if you had really good pitching.
Well, I mean, look at it this way:
career
guys are getting max 32 starts a year now.
Okay,
to get 300 wins,
320.
To get 300 wins, you have to win 20 games a year for 15 years. Who's doing that?
No one, especially when they don't keep them in the game.
Almost nobody wins 20 games anymore.
Yeah, when you get taken
very
out of
rare.
the sixth inning.
Well, if you get taken out of the sixth inning with a lead, then you should get a win.
Yeah, but if you have a bad bullpen or a bullpen that
see now you're bringing the Mets argument into it.
I am.
So that's that's a problem.
I'm going to bring up my point next segment.
But what you're looking at is it's so difficult to do now.
Sure.
And like Messina was obviously, like I said, 10 seasons with the Orioles, 8 with the Yankees. That's 18 seasons. Could he have pitched another season? Yeah, obviously could have. He won 20 games in his last season. So I'm not saying that he would have won a Cy Young award, but chances are if he would have stuck around for another year, he would have won at least 12 games that following year, unless he got hurt. But he was a guy who was consistent, finished in the top 5 for Cy Young award. I think it was 6 times or something. I mean, it was he was just a guy, and I said this last week. He was a guy who was rewarded for being consistently very good. And when you look at the advanced metrics now and wins above replacement and things like that, he compared favorably to a lot of pitchers who were already in the Hall of Fame. And I think that's what a lot of writers relied on. And especially, you have to remember, this is a guy, Messina, who in his first year of eligibility got just over 20% of the vote.
Well, he goes back. He didn't get the magic numbers. That's why.
Well, but his candidacy gained momentum as it went on because
more and more pitchers aren't going to get those numbers.
That's one reason. But also, the writers and the voters started to analyze his career more and see, all right, what about this guy? What am I missing with him? Because everybody who starts off with a number like 20 point whatever percent, they always will have a couple of people in their corner to say, hey, you really need to give this guy another look. because look at what this guy did in his career, and you can't tell me he's not a Hall of Famer. Because based on this metric or that stat or whatever, this is a guy. Look at who else is in the Hall of Fame who didn't even touch this guy. It wasn't even close to what he did, and these guys are already in the Hall of Fame. And that's
point.
how you do
Good
it.
point.
That's how you do it. You get enough people to start thinking about it and to start taking a look at it and say, you know what, that guy was right. Messina does deserve this. And you could almost say the same thing about Edgar Martinez, because he was another guy who, because he was a DH, there was prejudice. And you know, he played third base early in his career, but for the most part, his career, he was a DH. But that being said, he was still one of the greatest hitters who ever played.
Yeah, he was.
Edgar Martinez, beautiful swing. Oh, my God, what a beautiful swing.
Okay, also, Harold Baines got inducted.
Very good player. I still don't think he's a Hall of Famer. I really think the Veterans Committee kind of blew this one.
Blew this one?
Like I said, very good player, but there's a difference between a very good player and a Hall of Fame player. And to me, Harold Baines is on the side of very good. You know, his speech, it was very Harold Baines. He was not an especially talkative guy in his major league career. He was more emotion than I expected, but the speech was as short as I expected the speech to be, because that's what he was.
Well, Baines played 21 years.
He played a long time.
22 years.
Long career.
But you know what? The last 2 years were horrible.
Well, that's what happens. People get old, brother. Why don't you acknowledge this?
213 and 131.
Yeah, all right, but you don't look at the last 2 years. You look at the body of work. You look at the entire body of work.
But that really knocked down his average.
That's what happens.
289 batting average.
Right, well, 289 is not bad. How many home runs, how many RBIs, brother?
Hold on a second. Home runs, he had 384.
Yeah. Basically in 20 years. I'll throw out the last 2 years. But that's 19 home runs a season.
Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about. I mean, like I said, the numbers are good because he played a long time.
He did.
But was he a great player? Hall of Fame great.
He played for a lot of teams,
I got to say no.
Played for
he did.
Chicago.
He played for about 5 teams, I think it was.
Yeah. White Sox, Texas.
Yeah. Orioles.
Yeah. God.
But he was a guy. I was, like I said, I was a little surprised at the fact that he showed some emotion at the end. I enjoyed the one story, and he told it, and Carlton, I think it was Carlton Fisk, told it in the video before he did his speech. But they were talking about, he told a story about how one time he hit a home run in extra innings, and the sports writer came up to him after the game and asked him about it, and basically said something to the effect of, wow, you hit that ball really hard. And Baines looked at him and he says, evidently. And so they started calling him Mr. Evidently after that. I mean, this is the personality we're talking about. Not a great personality, but a good hitter, real good hitter, as a matter of fact. But this. I mean, look, I got nothing against Harold Baines. Really, really good player, like I said. But Hall of Fame good? No, I can't see it.
I don't know. You take away the last 2 years, you're right.
I can't see it.
Yeah.
Again, I mean, that to me is where the dividing line is. And then that being said, and a lot of people are saying the same thing about Lee Smith. I had no problems with Lee Smith. The guy had over 600 saves in his career. As far as I hope I'm right about that. Double check that, brother. Lee Smith. But Lee Smith was another guy, like you were saying. I think he played on 8 teams. It's a lot of teams. And you kind of wonder, if somebody is that dominant a player, why is he on 8 teams?
Well, he could have taken the free agent right. I don't know.
Not 8 times.
With the Cubs, the Red Sox.
No, how many saves?
Saves?
I know he played for a lot of teams. He played a year for the Yankees, too. That's why I said yesterday there were 3 Yankee pitchers enshrined. And they were like, people looking at me like, huh? What? Who? I'm like, Lee Smith played a year for the Yankees.
93.
Yeah, exactly.
But he was also played for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Right. Well, he was still a Yankee for a small period of time.
Let's see. Where? I never read. Oh, ERA. Okay.
No, saves.
Oh, saves.
SV.
Keep talking. I'll find it.
All right.
Here it is.
Yeah.
478.
Oh, all right. So, I might have to reconsider my opinion. Why did I think he had 600 saves? Yeah, because wait a minute. Trevor Hoffman had 601. Yeah, why would he? Why would I think?
303 on the ERA.
Huh. Okay. Well, I mean, but I'll give Lee Smith this. I don't want to say he was the first dominant closer, but he was one of the first. And when he retired, he had more saves than anybody. So he was a guy who, between Lee Smith, Eckersley, Bruce Sutter, those guys in and around that time frame, that was where the closer position kind of came into what it is today. And it wasn't necessarily guys pitching, 2 innings or whatever, or even more, like Goose Gossage once did. But it was more about nailing down the 9th inning and kind of getting to the framework of what is being used in today's game, where you have a 7th inning guy, you have an 8th inning guy, and you have a 9th inning guy. And that was Lee Smith.
Okay, what about John Franco?
No.
424 saves, 2.89 ERA.
No. So that's what I'm talking about. I mean, if Lee Smith is a Hall of Famer, then John Franco has more of a case for being a Hall of Famer.
That's what I'm thinking, because he was in that same generation a little bit. Lee Smith came in earlier.
John Franco, I know he was a Met, and I know you loved him, and I know Met fans love him, but if I ever faced John Franco in a game, I would just never swing. Everything he threw was low.
That's true.
Everything he threw looked good, and it would dip down out of the strike zone. I would walk on 4 pitches if I faced John Franco.
The thing about John Franco, which always got me, was he'd be ahead on the batter, and all of a sudden he would just, it'd get to 3 and 2. He just seemed to always seemed to have that edge of, okay, my back is against the wall.
Exactly.
I'm going to do it. But
or I got to put a couple guys on before I can actually get some outs.
Right. But 424 saves is not bad.
It's not bad. I'm not saying it is, but my point. The point that I'm like, let's put it this way: Bobby Abreu will be on the ballot next year for the first time. His wins above replacement was 60. Now I don't even know how that compares to some current Hall of Famers, but at first glance, and without doing any research whatsoever, except for knowing his wins above replacement, I'm of the mindset of Bobby Abreu is not a Hall of Famer. Now, he had some great seasons for the Phillies, great seasons.
Good point.
But he is a guy who didn't have a whole lot of power. He had some power, but not a whole lot. He's not a 500 home run guy by any means, not even close. But that's what I'm talking about in terms of there are a lot of very good players out there, and that's where I got to put Don Mattingly, because the longevity wasn't there. He had five, like I said before, 5 otherworldly seasons, but that was it. He had 5. So that's.
But what do I always remind you of? And people get angry when I bring this up.
I don't know.
Sandy Koufax.
You have made me angry, brother.
Oh, thank you. But the thing about Sandy Koufax only had 5 super seasons. But, he didn't have...
But those seasons were insane.
Right.
Like, best in the game.
Best I'll ever be.
Best in history good.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, and Don Mattingly had 5 seasons that were really, really good. A couple of them MVP-type seasons. But Sandy Koufax was ridiculous. And you can make that case. And I don't have a problem with you making that case. But I'm just telling you where my mindset is with this. Roy Halladay, his wife, Brandy, gave the speech for him. Very emotional, very, very, very difficult. Roy Halladay, he only died like not even 2 years ago.
Right.
He was piloting a plane. He crashed into the Gulf of Mexico. So it was, obviously comparisons to Thurman Munson in that regard, but his wife talked about how great everybody at the Hall of Fame was, how much support she got from the Hall of Famers, all the hugs and well wishes that she got. It was a very very poignant speech. And I don't know how she got through. I mean, she really she had some moments where she had to catch her breath a little bit. I don't know how she didn't just break down and just start sobbing. So great job by her. It was just so emotional, everything that she said, and everything the game meant. And like I said before, Mariano Rivera was the guy who taught Roy Halladay how to throw the cutter. So Mariano Rivera, in some ways, is responsible for however many millions of dollars Roy Halladay earned in his career, because obviously the cutter made a huge difference.
Sure.
And did I tell you the story? The ball, it must have been an All-Star game. Mariano Rivera actually traced on a baseball where he put his fingers for the cutter. Roy Halladay kept that baseball his entire career.
Why not?
because just to remind himself, all right, this is what I have to do. Let's make sure that we got it. Let's not get away from it. Let's get it right, and kept it his entire career. Now that ball is in the Hall of Fame, and you can see in Penn, he just traced his fingers around and exactly on the seams where the fingers go.
It's like when you were a kid and you'd use your hand to make a turkey.
To make a turkey, exactly.
Except use it to make a cutter.
But Mo actually kind of violated one of those weird unwritten rules of the game, because Halladay was pitching for Toronto at that point. And Toronto obviously is in the American League East with the Yankees. So, dude, what are you doing? Don't help him.
He's a sharing guy.
He just shows the kind of guy that Mariano Rivera is. He was like, all right, hey, you want to learn? Sure. I have knowledge. I'll pass it along to you.
We're going to take a break right now. You're listening to From the Press Box right here on 90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College. You have a comment or question, we'd love to hear from you. 516-572-7440.
I will fully admit that whole wheat bread is healthier than other breads, but there's a reason we have white bread. It tastes better, it has better texture, it's fluffier. Have you ever heard of a PB&J pumpernickel?
There isn't even that much of a difference, except whole wheat has more fiber. It's healthier than white bread.
I have just 3 words for you. Pastrami on rye. Drop the mic.
Have you ever had rye bread? It's disgusting. It's coarse, it's hard to chew when they have seeds. Disgusting.
Well, you've never had pastrami and rye, or you wouldn't be saying that.
Guys, what are you arguing about bread? This is a political show.
Join us on the Friendly Filibuster every Tuesday at 7 p.m. on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. Don't worry, we won't argue about bread.
This program on WHPC is brought to you in part by Nassau Community College, where they believe knowledge is the power to advance and improve your life for the better.
Nassau Community College offers over 80 degree and certificate programs in fields like criminal justice, business, IT, engineering, and allied health sciences.
And when you graduate, you'll have the power to advance to a 4-year college or start your career.
More information is available online at ncc.edu.
It's Tuesday night at 8. Do you know where your children are?
It's not Tuesday night at 8 right now.
It's 8 p.m. somewhere. It's time for the Rock Binge.
But it's not 8 p.m. here. What's the Rock Binge?
I'm ready! You know, the Rock Binge, where it plays modern rock and alternative music in a class of its own, with the latest rock news, too. Is it Tuesday night at 8 yet?
No. The show sounds cool and all, but maybe you need to buy a new watch or something?
No, I do not need a new watch. I just can't wait for it to be Tuesday night at 8. Why would you want to miss out on classic SpongeBob lines or this amazing voice?
All right, I get it. All right, I'll listen, I promise.
All right, is it Tuesday night at 8 now?
No, it's not.
How about now?
Stop asking.
You gotta turn on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
All right, forget it. If you can't beat them, join them. Is it Tuesday night at 8 now?
Let me check my watch. Nope, not yet.
Wait.
Okay, brother. You're listening to, what's the name of our show again, brother?
I'll be From the Press Box, brother.
Part of the Sports Talk family. By the way, brother, I know you're totally against about what I'm about to say, but I feel I must bring it up.
Uh-oh.
The Mets need to sign Matt Harvey.
No, don't bring that up.
It's going to cost them nothing to sign. He's on the waiver wire, right? The Mets need something for the bullpen. They lost to the Giants. Alonso had a great homer on Saturday.
That is not the something they need, brother.
Well, Alonso, he comes off, he's pinch hits. Boom!
He's very good.
Very good. I like him and McNeil. This is going to be a good season for them to establish themselves. But I really think the Mets...
They already have done that, brother.
I know that, but...
You're killing me.
I look forward to next year. But, then again, I thought Conforto was going to be established. And you know what? Conforto...
He's having a decent year.
But he's not having a breakthrough year. He needs that breakthrough year. He hasn't had
a breakthrough year a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And last year was a step back because he had the shoulder surgery.
Right. Well...
Guys get hurt. I mean... I don't understand why you think guys should just have the same great season year after year after year. Like nothing is going on with their bodies or their lives or anything.
Well, that happened to Matt Harvey.
He's a perfect example.
I remember a couple of years ago when Tim Leonard said very brazenly that the Yankees, are going to sign Matt Harvey when he's a free agent.
No, I didn't say they were going to. I said that they should. But that was back when that was second season Mets Matt Harvey.
Right.
And we were already pointing towards the 2019 class with Bryce Harper and Dallas Keuchel and Manny Machado and several star players who were all going to be free agents at the same time.
Right.
And back then, Matt Harvey, this was before thoracic outlet syndrome surgery. It was before, what, did he have Tommy John? Did he have Tommy John surgery? I don't even remember. I think he did. I'm pretty sure he did. So that was before 2 major arm surgeries. Now you're sitting here saying, and I tried to stop you because what you're saying is ridiculous, but the Mets have no use for Matt Harvey. And to be honest with you, Matt Harvey has no use for the Mets. So you want to bring in a guy who, let's see, the Angels, first of all, let's remember this, brother. Let's remember when the Angels signed Matt Harvey in the winter for a contract that was worth $11 million. What did I say? I'll answer the question for you. I said that Matt Harvey was at best worth a contract of about $3 to $5 million. And reality was that they should have given him a minor league deal with an invitation to spring training.
I agree with that.
And that the Angels so grossly overpaid for Matt Harvey, and I said that they would regret it. I didn't think they'd regret it this quickly or this extremely. Matt Harvey was waived or actually released by the Angels on Friday. His record is 3-5. His ERA is 7.09. That's disgusting. All right? 39 strikeouts in 59 innings. That tells me his fastball has no life because he's still doing 93 with the fastball. That's not a terrible fastball. You can survive in the major leagues with a 93 mile an hour fastball if the rest of your pitches work. But that tells me Matt Harvey's fastball has flattened out. It tells me his secondary pitches are garbage because hitters are just sitting on the fastball and crushing it. So no, you don't want Matt Harvey. First, I don't think Matt Harvey would ever come back to the Mets.
If they offered him a contract, sure.
I think the only way that Matt Harvey would come back to the Mets is if they were the only team offering him a shot in the major leagues.
And they should be.
I don't think they will. I mean, I think there's other teams out there. I wouldn't be surprised if the Orioles said, "Hey, Matt, come pitch for us." The Orioles are garbage right now. I mean, why not take a shot at a completely low risk, high reward possibility with a contract? Matt Harvey pitched decent for the Reds last year after the Mets traded him.
I know that.
Pitched decent, but he was terrible for the Angels this year. Awful. 7.09 ERA is no accident.
No, I know that. But I would like to, if maybe instead of being a starter, you become a reliever. Maybe that's his future.
Maybe. I don't know. But again, the strikeouts.
I'm just so desperate.
You got to look at the strikeouts.
I know that, but I'm so desperate with this Mets team with this really bad bullpen. You don't want them pitching the starters going 9 innings, for whatever reason. But every time, like yesterday, I'm watching the game and I'm like, okay, it's 2-1. Okay, we're changing a pitcher. Okay, and it's like, okay, we're going to lose. I shut the game off.
Well, but the problem is, brother, and if you look, you have to look beyond what's right in front of your face,
which is a really bad team. At least with
that's not what I'm talking about.
With a bad bullpen. I love watching Alonso. I love watching McNeil. I'm so happy about them. Yeah. I'm rooting for Conforto, even though I'm not happy with him right now.
I don't know why you're not happy with Conforto. Give Conforto a chance. Look up Conforto's numbers. Look him up. Look up Conforto's numbers. I got no problems with Conforto. Dom Smith is pretty good. You know what happened to Dom Smith, brother? I'm gonna tell you this for your own good. Dom Smith, he was sluggish. He was tired. He was having problems with his vision. So what happens? Mets had him diagnosed. He had sleep apnea. He got that treated, and now he's a brand new ball player. Look at how good he's playing this year. Dom Smith.
You trying to tell me something, brother?
Yeah, I'm trying to tell you. You should get diagnosed for sleep apnea.
Okay.
What's Conforto's numbers? Give me his numbers.
250, 18 homers, 81 hits.
How many RBIs? I don't care about how many hits he has.
49.
So 18 and 49 with a 255, you said?
250.
250. It's not horrible. It's not great, but it's not horrible. This is a Mets team that's not scoring a lot of runs, so...
I believe that should be more like a 280, 290. I'm
I know
sorry.
that's what you want.
I expect more. I expect more from this guy.
First of all right, you have to realize that these days in Major League Baseball, there's about 20 guys who are hitting 300, and that's in both leagues, 20 total. So when
well, I didn't say 300. I said 280.
All right, but you said 280, 290. That's a big difference.
Well,
if you're accepting 280, then that's a lot better. But I'm saying that to point out that level of batting average, 260 is kind of the new norm these days. 250, 260 is what guys hit because of shifts and all the rest of that. That it's limiting hitting. That's why guys are swinging for the fences because that's how they avoid shifts.
I am bothered by the shift, by the way, because who was? I think I'm watching the game yesterday. He actually beat the shift, but I forgot who the player was on the Mets. But one thing I will say, brother,
yes,
if you were the batter, let's say you're Tim Leonard's superstar batter.
If I'm going against John Franco, I'm walking on 4 pitches.
Okay.
I said that before.
Okay, they do the shift. Third baseman's playing shortstop.
They wouldn't shift against me. I hit the whole field.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, why can't you get a batter to take an extra 100 at bats in the batting cage or whatever and say, okay, let's go to the right field, let's go to the left field, let's go center field, let's go to the shortstop area where there's no pitcher or no player, I should say.
Because so many players these days are conditioned to hit home runs. And it's a problem. Don't get me wrong. I agree with what you're saying in principle.
Thank you.
Because it depends on the situation to me. If I am in the ninth inning, let's say, and my team is down a run or 2 runs or whatever, if I'm batting right-handed as I would, I'd be looking to punch a single to right field. Because the most important thing in that situation is just getting on base.
Sure.
You need to create a run. And too many guys look at that situation and they say, well, if I hit a home run, we'll tie the game. Or if I hit a home run, we're only down 1. And that's not baseball. That's home run derby. And that's kind of what the modern game has become, is guys are so focused on launch angle and just hitting the ball as far as they can. And they've gotten away. And actually, the Yankees did this the other day. I'm trying to remember who they were playing. Was it the Rockies? I forget. But they had the one game where they scored, I think it was 11 runs, and they didn't hit a home run. I was stunned. I mean, I went back in the box going, I don't think the Yankees hit a home run today. They had 14 hits.
Right.
No home runs. Scored like, I think it was 8 runs, 11 runs, whatever it was. But, that was impressive.
Well, just getting to the Mets, they played very well on Saturday, and yesterday they're just another falling apart of the bullpen, and they lost on a home run too.
Anyway,
by the way, brother, just a reminder: Lyrical Ladies every Friday at 2 p.m. A show dedicated to the women in music, from Joni Mitchell to Alicia Keys. These women have left their mark on music. Hosted by Becky Davidson. That's Lyrical Ladies every Friday at 2 p.m. right here on 90.3. WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College. Tim, we got a minute left. What do you got?
I want to pay tribute to my man Aaron Boone for the moment of the week. Because Thursday, in the first game of a doubleheader against the Rays, Aaron Boone went off on the home plate umpire. Brett Gardner was called out on strikes on a pitch that was clearly inside. The first pitch in the following batter to DJ LeMay, who was 6 inches outside, also called a strike.
Okay, what did he say?
Aaron Boone went ballistic. Came out, umpire threw him out, got in the umpire's face, and said to the umpire, "My guys are effing savages in the box." Just like Big Ed, by the way. But what an incredible argument! He just got all over this ump. And now the Yankees are having shirts made that say effing savages in the box.
I don't think it's the Yankees making it.
No, they are. They're getting team shirts made for the team that say that with the logo. So the Yankees 7-3 since the break, playing well, extending their lead. How much time do I have?
20 seconds.
I want to just also pay tribute to my man Harry Kane from Tottenham. Scored a goal from midfield yesterday against Juventus in the International Champions Cup. And if anybody saw a SportsCenter top 10 plays of the day this morning or last night, number 1 play of the day. A goal from 48 yards, looped it over the goalie's head. The goalie had come off his line. What an amazing goal. Unbelievable. So well done, Harry Kane.
It was a great goal. I saw it. It was
See that?
a very cool goal. Anyway, that just about does it from the press box. I am Rob Leonard. Tim, you're at what?
Jim. At Real Tim Leonard.
No, I said Tim.
How long have I been your brother?
I didn't say Jim.
You said you did. Big Ed, what did you say?
You said Jim at first.
Come on. Come on.
I said Tim.
Wow.
God, you guys.
I'm leaving.
Do I have to play this back now?
I'm leaving. Yes, you do.
I'm going to cut it out anyway. So
I'm leaving.
I'm cutting it out. Anyway, brother, you're at Twitter
at Real Tim Leonard.
And coming up next is
Tim
Big
Leonard.
Ed. Tim Leonard. Yeah, my brother Tim Leonard. Tim Leonard. Tim Leonard. Tim Leonard. Tim. Big Ed's coming up next. He's in John Sterling withdrawal. Hopefully Sterling comes back.
He is back.
Oh, he is back?
Yeah.
No, he was back. He was out again.
He was back.
No,
He
he
took a night
was.
off last week.
And we took another night off. Yeah.
Wow.
So, hopefully, he's going through
I don't know because I don't listen to him.
John! Anyway.
You know, Susan.
I agree with Raceman. Let Susan Wallman call the game play-by-play. Anyway, take care. We'll see you next Monday at 9 a.m. talking more sports on From the Press Box. Take care.
The views expressed on air are not necessarily those of WHPC, its management, or Nassau Community College. Responsible opposing viewpoints will be considered by emailing them to whpc@ncc.edu or by mail at WHPC 1 Education Drive, Garden City, New York 11530. Thanks for listening to the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.